Is there intelligent alien life? And if so, has the government been covering it up?
What is going on, everyone? Thank you for stopping by to the channel. Steezo, Chris, it's great to have you guys back. It's been a minute since we recorded anything, to be completely honest.
It's nice to be back.
Nice.
So tonight we've got kind of an interesting one. They're really, ever since the New Jersey drones, I feel like there hasn't been like much going on other than, Trump is taking office in a couple days here. And, he's talked about a little bit about kind of getting debriefed on certain things. Hopefully we get some announcements coming for that. So I will go ahead and present this. Let's go here. So just in, and this comes from disclose.tv on Twitter. Just in, the White House will brief the incoming Trump administration on anomalous health incidents potentially caused by pulsed electromagnetic energy systems. We will be briefing the incoming administration on the full scope of ongoing work that should continue, as well as additional areas of focus recommended by the intelligence community. Experts panel, that's just a link, which found that a subset of anomalous health incidents cannot be easily explained by known environmental or medical conditions, and that pulse electromagnetic or acoustic energy remains a plausible explanation in certain cases. As with other health challenges faced by the U.S. personnel that took years to diagnose, sustained clinical research and investigative work is necessary to clarify what caused the symptoms of our colleagues have reported, develop effective medical interventions, and prevent future incidents. Our brave colleagues and their families who suffered real and sometimes serious injuries deserve no less. So this doesn't... I was actually coming into this I thought this was going to be more about the UFO side stuff, but it sounds like this has to do with this acoustic energy, which I believe has been used in a couple different countries now. And if I'm remembering correctly, I forget what country it was in South America. It might have even been Colombia or it was one country down south, but they had these weapons that the acoustic energy weapons are, and I think we did a stream on this way back. It's like they use high frequency sound, right? To
Right,
affect
it's sonic.
illness.
Sonic, yeah,
Okay.
sonic. Yeah.
But that is what they're talking about here, right? And apparently these are being
see,
used. They're saying that these are being used in the U.S. now.
To me, it comes across. It could be weapons like that, or, I mean, they're saying that it can't be easily explained by known environmental or medical conditions, and that pulsed electromagnetic or acoustic energy remains a plausible explanation. It doesn't necessarily say weapons. It could be from exposure to who knows what, you know what I mean? But it's definitely interesting, to say the least.
Yes, Steezo, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this has to do with that thing that started in 2016. Was actually right when Trump came into office last time, and it's called the Havana syndrome. Is like where a bunch of people like that were down in Cuba got it.
So that is what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't know what caused it. They thought it was like Chris says. He says that it could have been, and they didn't know if it was environmental or biological weapon or whatever. But so they said that the whole acoustic or sonic weapon is plausible. I'm sorry. But it sounds to me like what they're doing is that they're basically saying, hey, this is going on. We still don't have an answer. And I remember seeing something. This is what's crazy is there's been a lot of people. It started in Cuba and actually has been happening in other places like embassies around the world. And so, but the latest thing I remember seeing not recently about this was, at first people were saying it was possibly like a foreign adversary like China or Russia. But now the CIA is now saying that they don't think it is a foreign adversary. They think it's something else.
Well,
that's
dude,
causing it.
that goes back to I can't remember who it was. Oh, it was Tucker Carlson talking about
Mhm.
he has deep connections with the VA because he works with the military
Yes.
and vets that are coming home and helping them deal with things.
Mhm.
And there's a shit ton of claims moving through the VA about high level people with these similar conditions that are unexplained
Yes.
because of supposed exposure to certain materials. And that's the first
Correct.
thing I thought when I read this. Like,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily think it's even a weapons thing being used on people. I
Right.
lean more towards people being exposed to something that they're not necessarily willing to talk about, or that
Exactly.
Well,
But
and
it's
if we're gonna go down kind of that exposure thing, I mean, there is a tinfoil rabbit hole about the whole 5G thing. I don't want to shift that into this topic, but that I mean, I guess that could be kind of plausible. I didn't mean to cut you off, Stezo, but this is what I brought up in one of our way earlier streams.
Mhm.
This exact link actually, and it kind of
Mhm.
goes over like the acoustic weapons. And from what I remember, um, the protests in Cuba, they used these weapons on.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's verified. I can't
Yeah, I don't
remember,
know.
but you know, these things literally look like they came from the Hulk movie. Remember that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I don't know. And I actually didn't even recall like what are they explaining in here? Do you guys know like what
well,
in terms of like is there a situation where people are getting sick from it?
Yeah, like it like long and it's long term too. Like there's people now that like this is originally the first cases started happening in 2016. So here we are 9 years later, and some of these people were like had to like basically were permanently disabled. Some people got really bad. They were permanent disabled and had to go seek, they had to seek they want to make sure they had coverage from basically being disabled. And they're like young 30s and their 40s. And so some were seeking out military people were seeking VA help. And at first they were getting kicked out because there's like, hey, we have no medical explanation for this. To people like here you are with symptoms and you're messed up, but no one can find out anything wrong with you. So they think you're like, faking an injury or
yeah, and
illness.
they're being real secretive about it. Like
Right.
they're having to go through the courts to get some of this
Mhm.
information because they're keeping it
Mhm.
under lock and key pretty tight.
Yeah. So this is definitely one of those like there's something going on, and I'm sure like always there's somebody that has an idea or knows what happened. But here we are. It's like it's kind of like that history of like where our government or our military has tested stuff on soldiers or its citizens, and no one found out about it till it was disclosed like 30 or 40 years later and they came
Right.
clean.
Hmm.
And it just seems like it's one of those situations again that it just I don't know, it doesn't seem right. But what's cool about it is this is basically saying is the Biden administration is basically passing this information off to Trump's administration, basically saying, hey, we're
Right.
aware of this, and it's obviously big enough to not just be brushed under the rug as a memo, but to put it as a press release. So that has to be addressed now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good kind of segue to kind of close it out on this topic is that, given that Trump's taking office soon, he's mentioned something about the drones, saying that he's going to release something on day one. I hope he follows through with that. I hope it doesn't become a situation like it did with the JFK documents, where he claims he's going to and then backtracks because it would cause the mass hysteria type.
Well,
Because
technically, he released some of the JFK files. They just kept some of the stuff redacted.
all the stuff that would probably
The
link.
important stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was getting at with it.
Technically, he did release a good deal of the
Yeah,
of the
he
files.
released it.
He released a weather report that day. So
and I'm pretty sure from what I remember that those documents had like more than 50% of the paragraphs blacked out, right? So you couldn't
Right.
really see most of
certain
it.
spots. Yeah, certain spots.
So I hope it isn't something like that, and this kind of would be a huge deal if
Yeah.
they start saying that.
That was first that was first term Trump too. This is second term Trump. There's no rules now.
That's
no
true.
rules now.
That is true. So yeah, I think this was a good one to kind of kick off the channel again. I appreciate you guys like always for coming by, and
No problem.
and thank you, Chris, specifically for providing this one to us. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you everyone for dropping by.
Later.
Later.